The sky was quiet above the desert. A royal ship from the Arkansas Empire came down slowly. Its lights cold and sharp. The humans at the outpost had no idea why the Empire sent a ship so far out. But they stood in silence as the ramp opened, and then they threw her out, not with care, not with honor, but like broken glass tossed into the sand. She stumbled, caught herself on her hands. Hun didn't even look back. She was tall, her silver skin glowing faintly, her white hair tied in royal braids, but her eyes were empty, like someone already gone. Her name was Syria. She was a princess, born from the royal bloodline of the Arkansas. But now, they called her something else infertile. In her world, it was worse than death. A royal who couldn't carry children had no use to the Empire. So they gifted her to the humans as a gesture of peace. But everyone knew it was just to get rid of her. A human stepped forward, confused and quiet. His name was Jack. A farmer and engineer at the edge of the outpost. He had no idea why he was chosen. He was just told by his commander. The Empire left her here. She's yours now. Take care of her, and don't ask questions. Jack stared at her. She didn't say a word. Didn't even raise her head. She looked like someone who had nothing left. Still, Jack nodded. "All right, come with me," he said softly. She didn't answer, but she followed, barefoot, through the dust. Jack lived in a small house near the canyon. He gave her a room, warm blankets, fresh clothes. She didn't speak. Just sat near the window for hours, staring at the stars. Jack tried to talk, but she only looked at him and turned away. He didn't push. Days passed. She didn't eat much, didn't sleep much. She never smiled. Jack left food for her every day. Sometimes she touched it, sometimes not. At night, she would sit by the window and whisper words in her own language. Jack couldn't understand, but he knew pain when he saw it. She looked like a queen who had lost her throne. One morning, he found her outside, sitting in the garden. She was holding a small leaf in her palm, just staring at it, like it was something magical. "It's called basil," Jack said. "You can cook with it." She didn't respond, but the next day, she was there again, touching the plants gently. Bit by bit, something shifted. She started learning small English words. Food, water, sky. Her voice was soft, like a song from far away. Jack didn't ask about her past. He didn't treat her like property. He treated her like a person, and that confused her more than anything else. One night, the wind howled outside. She sat near the fire, her hands shaking. Jack noticed, but said nothing. After a while, she spoke. Her voice was flat, almost emotionless. They said, "I am broken." Jack looked up. "You don't look broken to me," he said. She turned toward him, her eyes filled with quiet pain. "I cannot carry royal blood. I cannot be." "Mother, that's not what makes you worthy," Jack said. "Not here, for the first time." She blinked fast, like trying to hold back tears. Something cracked in her heart, just a little. He didn't look away, didn't laugh. He just listened. The fire flickered, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. But something had changed. The next morning, Saria helped him water the plants. Then she picked up a cooking tool and tried to help him make breakfast. She burned the eggs. Jack laughed. She didn't laugh, but she didn't walk away either. And that was enough, but far above, in the sky. A probe from the Arkansas watched quietly. It recorded her movements, her vitals, and sent a signal back to the Empire. The message was short. Subject still alive. Condition stable. The Empire had thrown her away. But now, they were watching, and soon they would realize they had made a terrible mistake. Because Saria was no longer empty, something was growing inside her heart, something the Empire would soon fear, hope. Jack never asked for an alien princess. He never wanted trouble from the Empire. All he wanted was peace, his small garden, quiet days and stars above. But now, a woman from the stars lived in his home, and every day she changed just a little more. Her name was Syria. She still barely spoke, but now she walked outside with him. She watched how he fixed the solar panels. She touched the tools with quiet curiosity. Sometimes she even helped without being asked. Jack noticed the way she moved slow, careful, like she was afraid to break things, or maybe, like she had already been broken. She ate more now, not much, but enough. He saw color return to her cheeks, and once, just once, he thought he saw her smile. It was small and vanished fast, but it was there. One evening while repairing a water pipe, he cut his hand. Not bad, but enough to bleed. Syria rushed over, her eyes wide with fear. Red. She asked softly, pointing to the blood. Yeah, Jack nodded. Just blood. I'm okay. She gently took his hand in hers. Her touch was cool and soft. She didn't let go for a long time. That night, she sat near the fire again. Her voice low. Her English still broken. You are not like others, she said. Jack raised an eyebrow. Other humans? No, she said, pausing. Other owners, he froze. That word hit like a punch. I'm not your owner, Syria, he said. You're not a thing. She looked away, her shoulders tight, but I was. Given, she whispered. Then maybe the gift was for me, Jack said, half smiling. Not for the Empire. She didn't smile back. But her eyes stayed on him a moment longer than usual. That meant something. She was learning trust. But trust is slow, especially when life has only taught you fear. The next day, Jack gave her a gift-hand old music device with headphones. He showed her how to use it. At first, she just stared, confused. Then the music began soft. Ancient earth melodies. Her eyes widened. She closed them. Listening for hours later, she whispered, this sound feels like home I never had. That night, a storm hit the outpost. Wind and dust howled outside. Power flickered. Lights went out. Jack worked hard to keep the system stable. But then a loud bang echoed from outside. He grabbed a flashlight and rushed out. To his shock, Syria followed him. No shoes, hair blowing in the wind. Stay inside. He shouted, but she stood beside him as he opened the main solar box and repaired the damaged wiring. Her fingers held the light steady even as lightning cracked the sky. You should have stayed in, he said later. After it was over, I will not leave you, she answered simply. He didn't say anything, but something deep inside him moved. She wasn't just healing, she was choosing to stand beside him, and maybe that meant something more. In the following days, she asked questions. Why do humans grow plants? Why do humans sing? Why do humans cry? Jack answered every one with patience, and sometimes he saw tears in her own eyes. As she listened, he never asked about her past again, but sometimes she told him anyway. My people, we are not allowed weakness. No crying, no love, no music, only power, only bloodline, I was told. I was a flaw. Jack didn't answer with fancy words. He just handed her a small flower from the garden. Then let's grow. New things here, he said. One morning, Jack found Syria sitting near the mirror. She was touching her stomach, looking confused. He saw her face pale. Are you okay? He asked. She didn't answer, just looked up at him with eyes full of something strange fear. Shock, maybe even hope. Later, she sat beside him and whispered, something is different inside me. Jack's face turned serious. We should visit the medbay the next day. They went to the outpost doctor. The scanner beeped, lights flashed, and then silence. The doctor stared at the screen. This can't be right, he whispered. She's pregnant. Jack looked at Syria in disbelief. She looked down at her hands, trembling. But I was not supposed to be, she said. They tested me. I cannot. I was broken. Jack gently took her hand. Then maybe you were never. Broken. Maybe they were wrong. Syria looked at him, for the first time, really looked. And she didn't see a human anymore. She saw safety, warmth, family, but far away. The Empire had already received the signal, and fear began to grow among the stars because the one they threw away was no longer alone. Syria sat still on the exam bed, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The doctor left the room, whispering to himself, his mind full of confusion and fear. Jack stayed close to her. Standing quietly, unsure what to say, she stared at the scanner screen, her eyes locked on the pulsing light in the center. A soft rhythm. Tiny, perfect. It was the heartbeat of the child growing inside her. But it couldn't be. It shouldn't be. Syria had been tested, examined, and declared unfit and fertile. That was the reason they threw her away. The reason she had lost her title, her world, her future. How? She whispered, not to Jack, but to herself. How can I be with child? Jack sat down beside her, his voice calm. Maybe it wasn't your body that was broken, he said. Maybe it was their belief. She looked at him, confused and afraid. But no one, no Archenzen, has ever had a child with another species. It is not done, not possible. They will think I am corrupted. Let them think what they want. Jack said, you're alive, you're strong. And you're going to be a mother. The words struck deep into her heart. Mother. She had never allowed herself to dream of that word again, but now? The baby inside her was real, part human, part Archenzen, a spark that should never have been possible. And yet, it was growing. That night, she stood in the doorway of the small home Jack built with his hands. The stars above her seemed brighter than usual. She placed a hand gently on her stomach and whispered, you are not a mistake. From that moment, everything changed. Syria woke early, helped with farming, repaired wires, learned new words. She became active, focused, and determined. Jack watched her with quiet pride. She smiled more now, her eyes full of something warm, not just love, but purpose. Jack crafted a special chair for her, one with cushions and soft cloth. When he gave it to her, she didn't say anything. She just touched it slowly, then touched his hand. Thank you, she said clearly. Jack nodded. You're welcome, princess. She smiled faintly. Not princess anymore. Just Syria, and soon. Just mother. But peace is never forever. Far above, in deep space. The Archenza Empire had received the medical alert. A biosignal registered in their forbidden archives, royal DNA, active, and something worse. Non-Archenzen genes mixed in. The High Council met in secret chambers. The Emperor's face was pale as he read the reports. She was cast away. She was not supposed to survive. And now, she carries a hybrid. Some called it an abomination. Others called it a threat to the bloodline. One advisor whispered, if the child lives, it could claim both human and Archenzen rule. It could unite the galaxies or destroy everything we built. The decision was quick and cruel. They sent a shadow fleet, no flags, no warnings, just silent ships with one mission. Erase the mistake before it changed history. Back on the outpost, Syria felt something strange one night. Her skin tingled, her heart raced. She woke up from sleep, breath short. Jack ran to her. What's wrong? She looked outside the window at the sky. They are coming, she whispered. I can feel them. Who? My people. My past, she said. They will not let me live. Not with this child. Jack clenched his fists. Then let them come, he said. They'll have to go through me. But Syria shook her head. You do not understand, Jack. They do not fight fair. They erase. For the next days they prepared. Jack reinforced the home's shielding. Syria scanned for energy readings, watching the skies. Even the baby inside her seemed to sense the danger. It kicked softly when the scans grew louder. In one quiet moment, Saria sat beside Jack, holding his hand. "You never asked for me," she said. "But you gave me more than any empire ever did." Jack looked at her. "I didn't save you," he said. "You saved yourself. And now you're saving something even greater." Saria smiled gently, then touched her stomach again. "They will fear this child," she whispered, "because it proves love is stronger than bloodlines, and somewhere far beyond the stars." The first black ship entered human space. It was silent, cold, and armed. And it was heading straight for the planet where Saria now lived. The spark had been lit, and soon the fire would begin. The baby hadn't even been born yet, but it was already feared by an empire, and now it was being hunted above the peaceful planet where Jack and Saria lived. A black ship floated in orbit. No lights, no sound, only shadow. Its job was not to talk, not to ask. Its job was to erase. Saria felt it before the scanners picked it up. A cold wave passed through her bones. Her hand went to her belly, her voice shaking. "They are here." Jack looked up from the table. The baby's cradle he had been building now sat unfinished. He moved fast, powering up the alarm grid. His fingers hit each switch with calm skill. He had been a soldier once, long ago, but this time he wasn't protecting a nation. He was protecting a woman and a child that should not have existed. "We'll be ready," Jack said. Saria stood beside him, her silver eyes sharp. "They will not come as soldiers," she said. "They will come as ghosts, fast and silent." She was right. The Archons and Empire had no wish to leave a mark. They wanted to remove her quietly before word of her child reached the stars. Before the galaxy knew that an infertile princess had become a mother with a human. The idea alone could shake their power. If a hybrid child could live, then maybe their rules were wrong. And if their rules were wrong, their whole system could fall down on the outpost. Jack checked their defenses again and again. He knew it wouldn't be enough, not against Empire tech. But he wasn't going to run. Not this time. Saria sat by the fire, hands on her stomach. The baby moved gently within her. Her heart ached with both joy and fear. This child, her child, was something new, something never seen before, and in that tiny heartbeat, a new future was growing. Why do they fear a baby? Jack asked that night. Saria looked at him with soft eyes. "Because the baby is proof," she said. "Proof that they were wrong. Proof that love makes life, not laws." Jack nodded slowly. "Then we protect that proof." That night, as the stars blinked above, the black ship sent something down. Not a bomb, not soldiers, but a silent probe, a small drone with scanners and injectors. Its task was simple: find the mother, extract the child, and erase all trace. It moved like a shadow through the desert, unseen, unheard, until it reached the edge of Jack's land. Inside, Saria's body tensed. She gasped, her hand pressing hard against her belly. "Something is near," she said. Jack grabbed the rifle from the wall. "Where?" "I don't know," she whispered, "but it's watching." They moved together. Jack checking the windows, Saria guiding him with quiet instinct, and then a flash of metal in the trees. Jack aimed, fired. The probe darted back, but not fast enough. The bullet hit its leg, and it sparked, dropping into the dirt. Saria rushed forward, her hand raised. The device scanned her face. Sand froze. A red light blinked on the side. Target confirmed, active royal genetic signal. It was sent to take me, she said coldly. To take the child. Jack smashed the device with a heavy boot. Its pieces sparked and hissed in the sand. But the message had already been sent. Back to the Empire. Back to the Emperor himself. High above the stars, in the capital's throne chamber, The Emperor read the new report with shaking hands. He whispered, "It lives." The council argued around him. "The child must not survive. If news spreads, our laws will be questioned. Our enemies will unite behind this hybrid." But one voice spoke softly, "Or we embrace it." Silence fell. Eyes turned to the oldest counselor. "The people will see this child as hope," she said. "A new way forward. One not chained by fear." The Emperor didn't respond. He only looked at the glowing report in front of him. The child was a girl, heart rate strong, royal blood confirmed, but also human DNA. Back on the outpost, Saraya whispered to Jack, "They will come again, not as ghosts next time. They will bring fire." Jack held her close. "Then let them come." He said, "They fear what you carry because they know. The future is already here." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I used to think I was a mistake," she whispered. "Now, I think I was just waiting to become something more." And inside her, the baby moved again. Stronger now, brighter, a spark they couldn't erase. The second ship did not hide. It came down from the sky like a storm, black and wide. No message, no name, no mercy. It hovered above the desert with engines that roared like thunder. Jack stood outside the house, shotgun in his hand. He looked small under that huge shadow, but his eyes were steady. He had faced fear before, but this time was different. He was standing for someone he loved. Inside the house, Saraya stood near the window. She held her belly with one hand. The baby moved softly inside her. Each kick felt like a promise. A promise that she would not run again. She had run all her life from duty, from shame, from being thrown away. But not today. Today, she would face them. "Jack," she said. Quietly, "They won't speak. They will come to destroy." He nodded. "Then we give them something they don't expect." The ship lowered a ramp, and 3 Archensan warriors stepped onto the sand. Their armor was smooth, silver-like. The stars, their faces were hidden behind masks. They walked without fear, weapons on their backs, but Saraya knew them. She had trained with them once. Long ago, they were not here for capture. They were here for erasure. Jack stood in their path, his gun lowered but his feet planted strong. "Turn back," he said. "This isn't your land." One of the warriors stepped forward. "We are not here for land," he said in a cold voice. "We are here for the royal mistake." Saraya stepped outside. Her long white dress blew in the hot wind. Her silver hair shimmered under the sun, but her face held no fear. "I am the one you call a mistake," she said, "but I am no longer yours to command." The leader tilted his head. "You carry a hybrid. That child is not allowed to exist. Then your laws are wrong," she said, "because life already grows inside me. You are too late." Jack stepped beside her. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His presence was enough, solid, unmoving. A human who stood between death and the woman they threw away. The warriors raised their weapons, and the air grew tense. But then, something happened. The ground under them began to glow. Not from human tech, not from the Empire, but from her. Saraya gasped as a golden light rose from her skin. The same light flowed from her stomach. The baby inside her was responding to the threat, not with fear, but with power. The Archensan warriors stepped back. Startled, their scanners blinked red. "Unknown energy?" One said. "It's royal," said another. "Stronger than the Emperor himself," whispered the third. Saraya's eyes glowed white now. Her voice rang like music. "This child is not your end, is your new beginning. But if you choose war, I will defend what is mine." The leader hesitated. He had not expected this. He had expected a scared girl, a quiet exile, not a queen. Jack raised his weapon again, not to threaten, but to show he would fight beside her, even if it meant dying. On this sand, you'll have to kill me first, he said. And I don't fall easy. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, the warriors lowered their guns. The leader stepped back slowly. This will reach the council, he said. The child changes everything. Let it, Syria replied. We are not hiding anymore. The ship lifted slowly into the sky. No shots fired, no blood spilled. But the message was clear. They would be back, with questions, with fear, and maybe. With new orders, Jack watched the ship rise until it became a shadow in the clouds. Then he turned to Syria. You didn't need me at all, he said softly. You're stronger than anyone I've ever met. Syria smiled, tired but proud. I needed you, Jack, she said, not to fight for me, but to remind me. I was worth fighting for. She leaned into him, and for the first time in her life, she felt safe, not because the danger was gone, but because she had something worth protecting, and someone who would stand beside her in the sky. The Empire now knew the truth, and it shook them to the core, because the child they feared had a mother who would not kneel and a father who would not break. And that made them unstoppable. The days after the standoff were quiet, too quiet. But the silence didn't bring peace, only the feeling that something bigger was coming. Jack spent his time fixing the roof, planting food, checking security. But every night, his eyes kept going to the stars. He knew they were watching again. From above, from far away, and this time, they wouldn't send soldiers. They'd send something worse: politics, power, control, inside the home. Syria was changing. Not just physically, as her belly grew round and full, but deep inside, something fierce and beautiful was waking. She spent her days walking with her, feet bare in the sand, her hands touching the earth, the trees, the wind. The energy inside her was growing stronger. Sometimes, when she whispered to the child, the lights in the house would flicker softly. Jack noticed, but never said a word. He knew something sacred was happening, something he could never fully understand, but he was part of it, and that was enough. One evening, Syria stood on the ridge. Above their home, her silver hair moved in the breeze. The sun behind her made her glow like fire. Jack came up behind her. You okay? He asked. She nodded slowly. I've been thinking, she said, about going back. Jack stiffened. Back? Where, you mean? To the Empire. She turned to face him, her eyes calm but full of strength. I must, she said. They call this child a threat, a mistake. But she is proof that the bloodline is alive and evolving. Jack shook his head. They'll try to use her, or worse. You saw what they already tried to do. Yes, she said. Which is why I must return, not to beg, but to show them something they've forgotten. What's that? She stepped forward, placing his hand gently over her belly. That being royal is not about blood. It's about protecting life, even when it scares you. Jack's throat tightened. He had come to love this woman, not because she was a princess, but because she was strong, kind, and fierce in ways no title could explain. If you're going back, he said, you're not going alone. Syria's eyes shimmered. She leaned into him, resting her forehead against his. Then, let's show them who we are. The next few weeks passed quickly. Jack finished building a small shuttle, nothing fancy, but enough to leave orbit. Syria prepared to not just her body, but her mind. She meditated in the mornings. Standing in the sunlight with her hands raised, her energy glowed gold now, soft but strong. I watched her from afar, always amazed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was becoming. One night, just before they were to leave, Syria had a dream. In it, she stood in the great halls of her old palace. But this time, she wasn't bowing. She was walking tall. Beside her, a small girl held her hand, a child with brown skin and silver eyes. When Syria woke, she whispered only one word. Daughter. That morning, the final message came. A voice. Transmission from the Empire. formal, cold. But with a crack in its armor, the council will receive Princess Saria at the royal hall. On her terms, her safety and the child's are guaranteed. We await her arrival. Jack didn't trust it. Saria didn't either, but she was ready. The ship took off at dawn. It was small, but it carried more than cargo. It carried a mother, a warrior, and a queen. The stars opened before them, and behind, the desert winds blew softly. As if whispering farewell, the journey was quiet. Jack stayed by her side always. Saria never stopped touching her belly. Whispering to the child, "You are not just hope." She said, "You are the answer to every lie they told." When the royal planet appeared through the glass screen, gold and silver in the light, Saria took a deep breath. "I was born here," she whispered, "but I will return different." As they landed, Jack saw the massive crowd waiting, reporters, nobles, guards, and shadowy figures. And at the top of the great stairway, the emperor himself. Jack felt Saria's hand tighten in his. She stepped out first, her robe glowing faintly with golden light. Every eye locked on her, some with fear, some with awe. And then, the wind shifted, and her voice rang out. "I was cast away as worthless," she said, "but I return as something stronger. I carry life, I carry truth, and I carry peace." Silence, and then a soft cry. The baby kicked again, right as Saria placed her hand over her belly and whispered, "And I carry the future." The great doors of the royal hall opened slowly. Cold golden light spilled across the floor. Guards stood silent. Noble faces turned with tight lips and watchful eyes. And at the far end of the long chamber, a throne of stone and silver sat. The emperor, his face was unreadable, but his eyes were sharp. Fixed on the woman walking toward him, Serja, his daughter, once discarded like broken glass, now returning. Carrying a child that was never meant to exist, Jack walked beside her, his clothes simple, his steps steady. He didn't belong in a palace. But Saria held his hand as if he were the most important soul in the galaxy. Gasps rose softly through the crowd as Saria stepped into the center of the hall, her belly full, glowing faintly with that same golden light. Her eyes locked on her father's, not with hate, not with fear, but calm defiance. "You gave me away," she said softly, "because I could not give you what you wanted. Now I return with something you never expected." The emperor did not speak, not yet. His advisors looked at one another nervously. One of them stepped forward. "You claim to carry a child," he said, "but what proof do we have it is royal?" Saria didn't flinch. She placed her hands on her stomach. The air around her shimmered. Then before their eyes, the crest of the royal bloodline appeared, glowing across her chest. It pulsed with life, and for a brief moment, everyone in the room felt the heartbeat of the child. Strong, steady, royal, but also human. Shock rippled through the chamber. Some gasped, some stepped back. One old noble even dropped to his knees, whispering the prophecy. Jack blinked. "What?" "Prophecy," he whispered to Saria. She whispered back, "Long ago, it was said that a child of two worlds would rise and end the age of cold rule. I always thought it was myth." The emperor slowly rose from his throne. He walked down the steps without guards, without armor, only a crown on his head and silence on his lips. He stopped in front of Saria. They stood face to face, father and daughter, past and future. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice deep and tired. Saria didn't look away. "I want no throne," she said. "I want no revenge. I only want the right to raise my child in peace." Without fear, without shame, the emperor's jaw tightened. "That child breaks our laws." "Then your laws are broken," she replied. "Because this child is not death, she is life." Jack stepped forward, You can fear her, he said, or you can let her change everything, the emperor. Turned toward Jack. He studied the human, this quiet man who had protected his daughter, who had given her a home, a name, and a future. And then, the old man sighed. You were never meant to return, he said to Syria. But now that you have, the galaxy will watch. They will question. They will doubt. And some will try to destroy you. Syria nodded. Then let them. See me, she said. Not as a shameful exile, but as a mother who stood back up. There was silence, until the emperor slowly bowed. The nobles gasped. The guards looked at one another, frozen. The emperor, ruler of star systems, voice of the Archensan Empire, bowed to his daughter. Then rise as something greater than a princess, he said. Rise as a queen of Kada. The new age Syria's eyes welled with tears, but she held them back, not from pain, from pride. She turned to Jack. He smiled gently and took her hand, and together they walked forward. Not toward the throne, but toward the open door behind. It a door that led to the public square where thousands waited, outside, under the light of twin moons. The people of Arkenza saw their fallen princess return, not broken, but whole. And when Syria lifted her hand, and the child inside her shone with gentle light, a cheer rose like thunder. Not everyone understood, not everyone agreed, but they saw the truth. The child they feared was hope reborn, and the woman who once walked alone in shame now stood at the beginning of a legend, a mother, a warrior, a queen.